As publicly demanded, there are so many viewers of mine that requested me to give more and another video for flow charting topics, and I decided also to have this video, a special one, and in this particular video, I'll be discussing in detail what is flowcharting and what are the basic symbols, right? Especially in as much as C programming language for beginners is concerned, okay? And then how does each box behaves, no? And how to make use of flow lines, right? So in this particular video, I'll be discussing basics of flow charting. No? There are, I think, I will only be discussing about 4 or 5 boxes plus the flow lines. Right. So that's it, and I hope that at the end of this video, I'll be able to I'll be able to clearly discuss the different behaviors of each box. Okay. So that's it, and here I would like to share you my screen for flowcharting. All right. So the first box that I'm going to introduce is this one. All right. Um, I'm sorry. Here, this is actually the. I'm sorry. All right. Here I am hoping. Okay. So this is actually a terminator box or a start or stop box. Okay. And the function of this box is to simply is the starting point of the flowchart, and at the same time the ending point. Okay, so when you are going to create a flowchart, it is quite impossible for you to start a flowchart without termination, without this box, terminal box or terminator box. Okay, and you cannot end a flowchart without a stop box or, yeah, an end box. Okay, this is the starting point and the last point of a flowchart. Okay, so if your flowchart doesn't have a start box or a stop box, then that is not a correct flowchart. Okay, so that's it. So in your case, when you are going to create your own flowchart based on a particular problem or program, then you must start with this particular box, start and stop, right? Now, the next box that I'm going to introduce is this one. This is the process box. Okay, uh, this is where all formulas, all declarations, the incrementation, the decrementation are being placed. Okay, you cannot use printf in here. You cannot use scanf because under process box, you can only use that by declaring a variable into an integer or what, or you can create formulas. You can use this process box. Okay, so that's the function. Now, if you're trying to create your own flowchart and you're using process box as your start and stop, then your flowchart is wrong. Right? So each box in a flowcharting symbol has its own function, and you have to follow it, or else your flowchart is wrong. Okay? And the next one is this one. Um, Decision. Okay? Decision box. Now, decision box actually, I'd love to place it here. All right? Now, a decision box can only be used by an if statement, conditional statements, right? Loop statements, right? Other than that, you cannot use condition box. You cannot use condition or decision box as your start and stop box, or you cannot use decision box as your process box, right? And if you have, or if you are using decision box, first consideration is this: your decision box uh, must have what is this? Sorry. All right. For a while, um, your decision box must have number one, this one, okay. For a while, uh, must have two exit, right? Exit. Number one, this is for, okay, if the condition is true, all right. And the next one is if the condition is false, right? So if you are using decision box and your decision box doesn't have an exit for yes and another exit for no, then your decision box is wrong, and your flowchart is wrong, right? Are you following? Because many of you are using decision box and you're just catering to if the condition is true, and if this condition is false, no flow lines is pointing to the false side, and then your decision box is wrong, and eventually your flowchart is wrong. All right. So same with the process box. Your process box must have um, your process box must have a what is this? I'm sorry. Um, I'm not so okay. It's in here. We'll try to okay. So must have one exit flow line. If it doesn't have one exit flow line, then there's something wrong with your flowchart, right? Though sometimes it is being allowed, but most of the times it's, I think 99% it should have one exit flow lines, right? So that's it. Terminator box or terminal box, the start and stop box, and we have the process box for assignment statement, right? All formulas, and then we have this decision box for conditional statements, loop statements, okay. And the next box that I'm going to introduce is this one. Um, in here, the this software is named this as data box, but in some other books, this box is known as display box. You can only use this box when you are going to use printf and scanf. Other than that, you are not allowed to use that box. So if your flowchart is using that box and you are trying to do some manipulation, mathematical calculations, then your flowchart is wrong. Okay? So I think that's it. There are only 4 boxes, basic symbols in flowchart. And I hope you as my viewers follow this. There are so many boxes, but in as far as C programming language for beginners is concerned, please let us try to limit to these 4 boxes: terminal box, process box, decision box, and display box or data box. There are 4, and of course the flow lines. Okay, so that's it. Now, say for example, we'll be creating a program to display what if we are going to create a program to display, what is this? I'm sorry. To display, um, let's say for example, let's go back in here. Okay, and we'll try to, what is this? Design a program to ask for two values and display the sum. All right. So for example, in here, we are we are um, we are we are tasked to design a program to ask for two values and display the sum. But prior to creating the program, we are directed to create the flowchart first. So our flowchart will ask for two values, and then along the way compute for, right, compute for the sum and display. Okay, how is the flow charting? Okay, so here, like I said, we have to start with, okay, we have to start with um, a terminator box or a stop box, and then we'll change the label as start. All right, and then we will um, we will have flow lines. By the way, your flow lines must be pointing at somewhere else. All right, you cannot have flow lines without an arrow. Okay, because a flow line shows a direction of your program. Okay, now we are about to to create a flow chart. All right, to ask for two values. Okay, so here, right, so we can say declare A and B, right, and if we can just make it shorter, right, I'm sorry. That's it. Okay, and next is, oh, sorry. Okay, so another one in here, and we'll try to, it will ask for two values. Okay, it will ask for two values, so we'll be using scanf and printf. All right, so we'll be using this box. Are you following? So I think that's it, and then you can say display, right, or read, for example, read A and B, because our program will accept two values, and then along the way, what's next? Our program will then display or compute for the sum. So once we have this, once we have A and B, and then we will then compute for the sum A plus B. All right, and here we need to add another variables sum. Okay, here. So we have this declaration. We have start, all right, declare, scan F, E, and B, and then evaluate, right, process sum is equal to A plus B, and next is what? Will be will be displaying, and you can only use what? this display box. I'm sorry. Right? That's it. And all you have to do is to what? Display display the sum. And after displaying the sum, what's next? You'll be having what? Um, you'll be terminating your program. And please do not forget um, to I'm sorry. Do not forget to put flow lines in here. So here, this is now our flowchart. Okay, our flowchart start with what? Terminal box start, and it ends with sorry. We have to change this one to stop. Okay, so here it started with start box and ended with a stop box, and in between we are declaring three variables, right? A, B, and sum. And then along the way we tend to ask for two values by using display box or data box. And then after having two values, we did process it, manipulate it by way of saying sum is equal to A plus B. And then once we have the value for sum, display it by using this display box or data box, display whatever is the sum. And after displaying, exit, stop your program. So that's it. Okay, so that's it. Now, the problem with flowcharting is this. Most of us, especially beginners, we are tempted to use another box other than the specified symbols in flowcharting. Okay, in flowcharting, you are not allowed to use your own box. All right, we are limited to a particular boxes. And for C beginners, I would like to suggest please focus on four: terminal box, process box, decision box, and display box. Okay? Terminal box, process box, display box. All right? We also have condition box. Now, let's go back to here. Assuming we are going to design a program to ask for two values and display the highest value. All right, so what is this? Our program will ask for two values, okay, and then out of these two values our program will display what is the highest value. So your task is to create a flowchart, and you are only limited to four symbols: terminal box, display box, decision box, and process box. Right? So that's it. Now here, we'll be asking for what? We'll try to delete this first. Okay. So in here, by the way, can we just select this one out and that's it. Now here, okay, so our program will ask for two values and display the highest value. Okay, so normally we will be using terminator or terminal box, and change this one to the word start. Okay, and then next is we'll be using, right? So we'll be using this box. Are you following? Why? Because we need to declare variables. We need two variables because we'll be asking for A and B. All right. Now, once we have this A and B, then we'll try to check as to what is the highest and display. So when we are going to check what is the highest and display it, then we need to have what? Decision box, right? We'll then be asking if A is greater than B, all right? And by the way, please connect your boxes with the flow lines, or else uh, your flowchart is wrong. Okay, so that's it. And then now look at it. By the way, we need to ask for two values. In this particular example, okay, we are only declaring what? Um, we are only declaring two variables and then did the asking of the condition. So this is wrong. I'm sorry. We'll try to erase this one. Instead of, we'll be using this one. All right? Why? Because we will ask for two values. Okay. After declaring the two variables, we'll then do scanf. Ask for two values. And once you have these two values, all you have to do is to have a decision box. All right. So that's it. And then be sure to connect it with flow lines, or else your program is wrong. Your flowchart is wrong. Now, basically, a decision box must be composed of two flow lines, two exits. One exit is for the true condition, and the other exit is if the condition is false. Okay. So here, if the condition is false, is true, all right? What is, okay? And if the condition is false, what are the statements? Now, in this particular example, we are tasked to ask for two values. And once we have these two values, we'll try to compare if A is greater than B. If this condition is true, right? We'll try to ask in here. If A is greater than B. If that condition is true, then display what? Display this one. Okay? Display, what is this? Display A, if true. Now, if this condition is false, meaning A is not greater than B, then what's next? Display B. All right? And after displaying B, what's next? Exit. Okay? Terminate your program. Now, how to terminate? You add terminator box or terminal box and change it to stop. And then connect it with a flow lines. All right? It's in here. And in the same manner, you'll be connecting it in here. Okay? So this is your flowchart. All right? You are declaring the two variables in here, and after declaring the two variables, read A and B, meaning you use scanf, right? Scanf A and B. Then once you have the two values A and B, try to check as to what is the highest, A or B. If this condition is true, then display A because A has the highest value. If this condition is false, then meaning B has the highest value. And after any of this is true, then exit from the program. Now, assuming your A is 2 and your B is 1, all right? So when you say read A and B, your A has 2 value, has 2, and your B has 1. So is A greater than B? Meaning is 2 greater than 1? Yes, true. Display the value of A. Display 2. And then what's next? Exit. Stop. Alright? If your A is 1 and your B is 2, meaning this condition is false. Now once this condition is false, display the value of B, which is 2. And next, exit. Right? That's flowcharting. Now in your case, you as beginners in flowcharting, most of the times your decision box contains one exit only. You only have yes and you don't have no. Or you have the two exit flow lines but it doesn't have label. It doesn't have the word true or false or yes or no. Right? And other than this, all right, other than this symbols, you're using different symbols. You're using the oblong one. I don't know where did you get that? Okay, so please focus on these four symbols only, and make it sure that your decision box. Okay, take note of this. A decision box most of the time is composed of one flow lines going in, one flow line going in, and then the other two flow lines exit for true and false. That is, if your decision box contains three exits, true, false, and neutral, then that's wrong. If you're using display box to declare a variable, then that's wrong. If you're using different type of box to check a condition, then you are wrong. Okay, make it sure that you're using an appropriate box, because each box in flowcharting has its own behaviors and it has its own functions. All right, so I am hoping that I was able to explain the basic of flowcharting. This is it. Regardless of the complex, whether the program is so complex or not, the problem is complex or not, then for as long as you know the basic in flowcharting, then you can, you can at the end of the day create a flowchart out from a problem. Okay, so one last example. If for example, okay, you are going to design a program to ask for a positive integer value and then display its series numbers. All right, so here our program will ask for an integer value, and then out from this integer value our program will display the series of numbers. For example, the user input 5, all right, then our program will display 1 2 3 4 5. If the user input 10, then our program will display 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, now you are directed to create a flowchart out from that. Okay, take note. Number one, our program will ask for a value. Then number two, our program will display series of numbers based on this given value, right? So this particular problem can only be done by using loop statement. Now, assuming we'll be using for loop or any loop statement. So what is then the flowchart? All right, what is then the flowchart? Okay, so here I will try to erase this one. Okay. Normally we'll be starting with a terminal box. Okay, and then please don't forget to change it to start. Right, and then next is we'll be declaring formulas. All right, so our program will ask for a value. So we'll ask for a value. So we'll declare what? We'll try to declare I. Okay, for example. So declare I. Now next is what? By the way, do not forget to connect your box with flow lines. Okay, because it shows direction. That's part of the syntax of a flowchart. Now once you have your I, what's next? We'll be using for loop. Okay, so initialize I, because part of the function of for loop is to initialize I by 1, because our program will ask for a value. But then prior to for loop statement, we'll try to use this one first. Okay, we'll be asking for a value. So for example, when we say read n, all right, and let's go back to process box in here, and we'll try to declare in. Are you following? Okay, and connect your process box with the display box. Okay, now once you have your value, and then then you can start the for loop. Now for loop contains initialization. Okay, so we have to initialize okay, we have to initialize I by 1. All right, initialize I by 1, and then be sure to connect it with flow lines. All right, are you following? Now for I is equal to 1, then you'll be having this decision box. Okay, so decision box, and we'll try to check if our I, all right, is our I is less than or equal to our n. All right, because our program will ask for a value, and that value will be stored to n here. And whatever is that value, that will serve as an upper limit of our for loop. Now, we are initializing I into 1 because that's part of for loop function. Initialize, right, condition, then increase or decrease. For I is equal to 1, colon, I is less than or equal to n, colon, I plus plus, something like that. Okay. So, here, we'll try to connect the box, right? And then if that condition is true, what's next? We are going to display series of numbers. So if I is what? If I is less than or equal to n, assuming our n is 5, and since I is being initialized by 1, so is 1 less than or equal to 5? True. If the condition is true, what is then the next process? So you'll be what? Displaying I. Alright? Display the value of I. Are you following? Now, after displaying the value of I, what's next? Okay, what's next? You display I. All you have to do is to go back to the loop. Alright? And once you go back to the loop, okay, once you go back to the loop, you have to increase the value of I plus plus. Okay? So, we'll be using in here process box. Okay, you cannot use display box for mathematical manipulations. Okay? So, process box in here to increase the value of I plus plus. And again and again, do not forget to connect. I'm sorry. Connect. And after what is this? After increasing the value of I through I plus plus, then you can connect them. Okay, your program will what? Goes back in here. Okay, it will loop. This is for loop, by the way. From here to display and to the increase, this is part of for loop. Okay, if this condition is true, meaning if your I is lesser than or equal to 5, assuming our n is 5, it will display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if the condition is false? What if your I is greater than 5? Okay, so then you'll be putting what? Another lines in here if the condition is true, and then what's next? You have to terminate the program. Okay, you have to exit, you have to stop. Okay, so here now, this is now our flowchart for this particular problem. Design a program to ask for a positive integer value and display its series numbers. Okay, so we have there here start, and we declare I and an n. I is for our for loop, and n is for our positive integer, and we try to ask for a value in here, right, by issuing read n. And then once we have this in, we did initialize I by 1 because this is part of the for loop. And then after initializing it by 1, we will then ask if our I is less than or equal to n, because our purpose is to display whatever is the value of I. Alright? And if this condition is true, then display I, display 1. And then increase the value of I. So from 1, it becomes 2. And it goes back to the condition. Is 2 less than or equal to 5? True. Display 2. It goes back here. I plus plus. I now becomes 3 and it goes in here. Is 3 less than or equal to 5? Yes. Display I. Display 3. And then I plus plus. I now becomes 4 and it goes back. Is I less than or equal to n? Our I is 4 and our n is 5, so the condition is true. Display 4. It goes back. I plus plus. It becomes 5. Now question. Is I is 5 less than or equal to 5? True. Display 5. I plus plus means I now becomes 6 and it goes back to the condition. Is 6 less than or equal to n, which is 5? The condition now is false. If the condition is false, where to go? Here. No. Exit. And now we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? That's it. Okay? So, in your case, guys, the problem is this. You are using your own box style or box type. And you are trying to use a particular box wherein the function of that box is not to ask for a value but to create formulas. You are trying to use process box instead of decision box. You're trying to end your program by using circle or by using square. You cannot. We have the termination box and we have the process box for formulas, for declaration, and we have this display box for scanf and printf to display and to ask for value, and we have this decision box for loop statement, for conditional statements, and we have these flow lines. Your flow lines doesn't have an arrow, so that's wrong. Your decision doesn't have a label, true or false, yes or no. That's wrong. And sometimes your flow lines is pointing to different directions, and that is still wrong. Your flow chart should be in unison with the problem. If the problem demanded for us to read or to ask a value, then your flow chart must ask for a value. And after asking a value, if the problem demanded us to check the condition, then we have to make use of decision box. That's it. Alright? So our flow chart must be in unison with the problem. And from here, we can now create a program. We can now create a program. Okay? So that's it. I hope I was able to explain the basic of flowcharting. Okay? And by the way, these are actually the basic forms of when you are going to use loop statement. And a while ago, I was discussing about display the highest and the lowest. That was actually the basic for conditional statements or if statements. And if you're dealing with complex problem, you can still create a flowchart out from that. For as long as you know the proper way of using all the boxes in here, and you know the technicalities of decision box and the flow lines. Okay, so I think that's it, and I hope I was able to explain clearly the flowcharting topic, and I hope you guys able to digest our discussion today. Okay. So thank you so much. At any time, please do some comment. Please tell me what to do for you to get and digest well with the flowcharting topic. Thank you so much for now. God bless you.